I recently bought online this lot of books. It's a huge box, and I'm going to open it. I haven't opened it. I just tore off the address label. And what I think is going to be in the box are going to be, well, it's supposed to be like about 86 of these Fawcett Regency or Georgian, historical romance novels. Between 1974 and 1979, Fawcett Crest released books that had this particular design, where it was like a white cover with this little crown on the thing. And they were, I think, mostly reprints of British novels, but also, I think, some originals. Joan Smith wrote a lot of them during this period, her early novels. And so I have about 22 of those books. And then after that, in late 1979, Fawcett released the Coventry Romances series, which was a numbered series. This is book number 117. It started like November 1979. Book number 1 came out, and number 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And it ran for, around 200 books until like early 1982 or something like that. And then they kept releasing Regency novels after that, a traditional Regency line, but they had different covers. They didn't have these white covers. So for my research purposes, I've been interested in getting more of these unnumbered pre-Coventry Romance Fawcett Regency Romance novels. Trying to get like a list together of how many were actually released in this series. I think probably around 100. Maybe more, but they don't have numbers on them. So I'm going to try to, figure out like how many of these things were done. There are, I think, probably some lists on here, that are helpful to try to figure out, how many of these were done. But anyway, somebody had a online auction for a huge box. Now they said something like lot of 86. But they didn't have descriptions of every book. They didn't even show the covers of the books. They just showed the spines. So I was like taking a chance. I bought this for like 42 bucks. And I think it's going to be worth it. But we'll find out here in a second. I'm going to open up the box here. And we'll see here. And hopefully I don't cut anything. Sticking there. There we go. All right. Okay. Whoops. So I'm going to take these. This is probably a sheet about my order. I'm going to take the books out of here and put them on the table here so they'll be easier to see. They'll be in the light. But this is what we got. A lot of them. Like I said, some of these I already have, but I'm hoping maybe some of these will be upgrades. So I'm going to pause the video and we'll take a look at them. All right, so, I'm just going to start showing the books here. Sassy by Claudette Williams. I think I might already have this one. Like I said, I have about 22 or so of these books already. Whoops, and I think I'm going backwards. Hold on. All right, so hopefully this works. So this is Sassy by Claudette Williams, and it's probably going to be between 74 and 79. This is 77. Some of them didn't have like the months that they were for. They just had like the years, usually around 77, 78, 79. They just had like the years, not the actual month of release. And I'm just going to show the covers real quick of all these. And this will help me in my research, that's for sure. Because having 20 and now having, at least 60 or so is going to be, help me figure out like how many of these were done. And eventually I'll put an index on my blog. I'm trying to keep this phone straight on here so everything's not all shaky. Eventually I'll have an index on my blog that lists like all these things. Whoop. Really? The Sapphire Hill by Anna James. Sweet and 20. I already have all of Joan Smith's books from this period, but like I said, some of these might be upgrades of my own copies. Well, geez Louise, this phone is not wanting to stay. Okay. I think I might already have this as well. You know, they're not in the greatest condition, but they could be worse. They seem perhaps a little musty, you know, here and there. But the thing is also, like this Talk of the Town has some mustiness on there. I think my copy is actually better than what you see here. Put these over here. So this isn't going to be too exciting a video, but if you just want to see covers of a lot of these books, this is the video. And like I said, this is a pretty awesome buy. For, I think counting tax, it came to like $42, something like that. And like I said, it was kind of a shot in the dark in a way, because I was, it just showed the spines, you know, it didn't list all the titles. It just said, in fact, it even said like Barbara Cartland books. There's no, I don't think there's any Barbara Cartland in here. It was just, I think maybe they used AI to write the description, you know, which people are doing lately. But this one's in rough condition. It's sort of wavy pages, but it's one that I do not have already. So yeah, like I said, all of these should have been published by Fawcett between 1974 and 1979. And it was part of their series of historical romances before the Coventry numbered series started in late 79. And like I said, well, this one's in rough shape. It's like all bent up here. I'll have to go through all of these and compare them to my own copies and see, you know, which ones I think are upgrades and which ones are not, which ones I need and which ones I don't, and so forth. A lot of these are by Sylvia Thorpe, who I think started writing in the 1950s. And I think it was Sylvia Thorpe's novels, probably that Fawcett sort of put them, you know, I think they were doing a lot of Sylvia Thorpe ones in the very beginning in like 74. So that might have been the thing that sort of got them on this Regency romance bandwagon thing. And I just said, let's do more like that. But anyways, yep. So usually you don't find, like, another Sylvia Thorpe. Usually you don't find this many, you know, of these books all, you know, in one, you know, one haul like this. And especially not one that's like this many books, like 80 some books. This is a Georgian Romance. You know, some will say Victorian, some will say Georgian, some will say Edwardian, but you know, some will just say historical romance, but then I think the majority were Regencies. And eventually, you know, by the 80s, it was sort of a thing where Signet and Fawcett and others were, Zebra, were doing their, you know, Regency lines of traditional Regencies. And this is a lot of books. I'm going to have to probably pick up the pace here to this video. I think I might have this one already, because there's still a lot in this box. And since these aren't numbered and some of the dates inside are somewhat vague, they just give the year, they don't give the month, it will be a little challenging to try to put these in chronological order. So when I do my blog post about this, sort of indexing this, which is going to take some time, it's not going to be today, I'll probably have to do them as just an alphabetical list, and then maybe an attempt at the very end of like, here's possible, possibly what they are, the order that they were released in. Sometimes these covers might look kind of yellowish, but that might be just because the light, the way it shows up on the screen. Some more Sylvia Thorpe. Some of these are not bad condition at all. I mean, they're really, really decent. Here's another Joan Smith one that I have already. Although I think a few of these came out in different editions. So even if I have, one copy of it, it may be a different printing than what I have. I'm going to move some of these out of the way because they're taking up the light. And some of these had also appeared earlier from other publishers. When I was looking online, I think there was a Marianne Gibbs book that had appeared in the early 70s under Beagle Books, who published Lucy Walker's novels. And so I think they had a short-lived Regency line. And then at some point, Fawcett reprinted the book. In fact, I think it was this book right here, The Apothecary's Daughter. I think there was a Beagle Books edition of this. In fact, let me look inside. See, 1963. This is kind of wavy looking, but the Beagle Books edition would have been like probably early 70s, and then that Fawcett version would have been sort of mid to late 70s. It looks like we're about halfway through them. I'm going to have to move these again. In fact, I'll put these down here. All right. Rebecca Danton. I'm not sure if she was Janet Louise Roberts or not. Janet Louise Roberts, I think, had some books on this line, but they were under a pen name. Another Marianne Gibbs. Another Sylvia Thorpe. Another Marianne Gibbs. I think I have this one already. A Victorian Romance. Rebecca Baldwin. Widow Aubrey. I've not heard of that one before. Another Marianne Gibbs. So this obviously was somebody's collection, and now it's mine. I do have a copy of this one already, in my own collection, but again, it might be in better condition than mine. I figured it was worth it getting it, even though it was a bit of a shot in the dark, because, like I said, the seller just had, they just showed the spines, they didn't show any covers, and they didn't have a list of the books. And you couldn't even see some of the titles on the spines. They, would be like a part, you would see part of them. So I was looking up like ISBN numbers. I would see just like this part. And so I'm looking up like ISBN numbers on Google to figure out like what books were possibly in there. And when I counted it up, there were only about like 64 books or whatever, whereas the description said lot of 86. And hopefully there's 86 in here. But so I do have this one already. This is that one. You know, there's my copy there. Looks like my copy might be a little better. Well, it's hard to say. I'll have to compare them later to see which one's the upgrade or not. All right, and this is another one I have already. Silver Nightingale by Sylvia Thorpe. Another Joan Smith one, which I have already. I have all of, I think I have all of Joan Smith's pre-Coventry ones. There's another Rebecca Danton, which again I think I have already. All right. And oops, I'll set these up here. So you can see what the covers look like. Another Marianne Gibbs. And Lucetta. Scarlet Domino. I have that one already, I believe. And then on the screen it looks sort of yellowish, but in real life it doesn't. It's like white. Maybe a little tan, but not yellow. All right. Another Sylvia Thorpe. I'm getting near the end of the box. All right, I'm going to start putting them back in the box, actually, so they don't fall over. And we got another Sylvia Thorpe. These are pretty cool. So yeah, it seems like just sort of, you know, some of them are in better condition than others, but they're all in good reader copies. There's none that look like really nasty or anything, you know. That was one of the things I was worried about, because they didn't show covers. It was like, well, are they even going to have covers? I mean, literally, when I opened this up, I didn't even know for sure if they would even have covers, because they didn't have photos of the covers at all. All right, well, that's it. I got a huge lot of books here. Well, that's what the box looks like now. I put some of them back in there, but that's a huge amount of books. So anyways, I look forward to going through them all and seeing which ones I need, and maybe trying to figure out how many more there are that I don't have. Anyway, thanks for watching.